Hello, hi, how's it going? Here we go, okay. 3, 2, 1, go. Hi, my name is Grant and I run the GC Performance YouTube page channel. To the left of me is my TAVELO Arrow. It's a Chinese aero bike that retails for around $1,880, and I released it earlier this week, which it got a decent amount of views on it. The TAVELO Arrow frame was sent to me for free by the company to go ahead and do a video where I built it up and talked about my experience while riding the frame and my overall general impressions of it. I definitely did say that the bicycle was an enjoyment to ride. I really did like it, and I thought that was a really good value for what it offered in terms of a high-end race bike compared to other Western brands out there, like with frames for $3,500, $5,500, $6,500. I thought it was a good price point in terms of a market value. Definitely more expensive than the China frames we're used to, but still a good bang for the buck in terms of a high-end performance race bike. Later on that day, another YouTuber by the name of Peak Torque, which I'm sure you guys are all familiar with, hello Mr. Alex, did a video where he basically went ahead and said that the bicycle is not ready. He said its quality control is crap, and he then went on to go ahead and explain his experiences with the 2 bicycles that he received from TAVELO for free, showcasing some issues like handlebar flex, steer plug issue, bottom bracket not being round, his seat post wasn't working, and then some overall just more complaints, more rather than issues like the Di2 wire and stuff like that. So in today's video, I'm going to go over my experience with the bicycle while building it up because I didn't really go into that, and apparently a lot of you guys like that. And I'll showcase everything that he touched on in my experience with my bicycle, and I'll also show you guys some references of some high-end Western brand bikes like some S-Works SL8 frames compared to the head tube frame, some Scott foils and everything like that as well. To be clear, I am not attacking Mr. Peak Torque. Basically, he has every right to say whatever he said on his channel. And obviously the frame was wrong for being a undersized bottom bracket. Obviously we'll just call it what it is. We like to think that everything will be quality control 100% nowadays, but unfortunately it's not. So we just kind of have to take it with a grain of salt. If you've been on YouTube for this long, you guys might know a guy by the name of Hambini, where he was known for reaming bottom brackets for not being true to size, oval shaped, and definitely made a name for himself there. So there is this running joke in the industry that BB86 bottom brackets were never the best and they are never round. That's why you see a lot of today's frames going to a BSA threaded bottom bracket and the new T47 threaded bottom bracket because they just want reliability. So in this case today, we'll go ahead and touch on all those experiences. And like I said, I'm not attacking Alex. He's completely entitled to all of his references on his experience with his frame. I'm just going to showcase and go off of what I have as well, just to be kind of fair, because a lot of people call me a shill in my comments. I guess I'm kind of known as a shill guy because I never really have anything negative to say. But let me give you guys a little bit of background for me. We've owned this store for about 41 years, maybe 42 years. My father's owned this store for 42 years. We've had every single high-end brand in here from Specialized, Trek, Giant, Cannondale, Yamis, Pinarello, Felt, Scott, you name it, we probably had in here. I did not really take a liking or even know about Chinese stuff until I got into my YouTube page channel, where a lot of you guys brought it to me. And to be honest with you, I was kind of never really wanted to touch it because all I really knew was like the really fake Pinarello China frames. So then once I got the YouTube page and started seeing the Chinese products and seeing kind of the better value to it, we've always been here, we've always had a store, we've always had the high-end customer. And there's always a market for that. This YouTube world here that we definitely see that showcases off the quality control, the cheaper budget builds, stuff like that, that's real, yes. But there's a much larger market out there that people don't even watch YouTube that really do come in here and walk the floor and buy a $12,000 bike or $8,000 bike. They buy what's on TV. So in all honesty, I'm not defending TAVELO here. I'm just basically showcasing you guys what my situation was with TAVELO. To be honest with you, if the frame got negative reviews, in the long run, it'll help out my career. This is my bread and butter, it's my store. That we would sell more stuff and people would stay away from cheaper China stuff. Again, I think that the Chinese stuff is a really good value, and one, it puts competition to the Western brands to lower their prices to make it more competitive. So we can stay in the game longer, we can sell cheaper stuff to make customers more happy. And like I said, the only thing I received from TAVELO was a frame. That is it. I was not paid any money by him. I have no affiliate link with him, and I don't get any benefit if he sells frames or not. So he reached out to me. I thought the frame looked really badass. I thought it looked really cool. Everyone says the frame design looks really nice. I get to choose what frames or what wheels or whatever company I want to work with on my channel, and then give my overall experience with it. If you guys want to see how my riding is, I have my Strava link down below in the description. You guys can follow my riding to see if my word is valid. I've been riding bicycles since I was 13 years old. I'm about 32 years old, and I have about 15 years experience working in a bicycle shop. We'll probably build up an S-Works S-Late, 2 or 1 a day. I'll do custom build-ups from frame up from Pinarellos to Scott's to whatever the case may be, Cannondales, whatever they are. We'll do custom build-ups and a lot of through traffic for frames. So I don't have the expertise of engineering, but I do have the expertise of actually seeing and touching and feeling frames and in the workforce experience of literally building and stripping down bikes, seeing issues. And yes, undersized BB86s are a real thing. We know this. We can see them on every other company out there that has undersized BB86 companies. Let's just say Scott has BB86, BMC has BB86. Other companies, Bianchi I think has BB86. So there's companies out there that still to this day might have an undersized BB here or there. So keep that in mind. But with all this rambling, this is probably the worst part of the video because I suck at talking. I'm not a YouTuber. I kind of just got thrown into this during COVID time. But let's go ahead and get into the video. Let's start off with some of the fun stuff. We'll save the bottom bracket for last. We'll strip out the crank. We'll remove the bottom bracket. We'll take a look at it together, okay? Hopefully you guys enjoy the video. Oh, real quick, I do this a lot, but for all you guys who say, use my code, bro, and they say that, I saw this comment in either Peak Torx video or my video saying that I'm basically a shill and I just say use my code for everything. I say that for products that I do generally like WindSpace. Like I saw WindSpace, I brought them into our store because I thought they were great products. I support their brand. I also give people an option to get a discount for it. Use the code if you want to. It's more of a discount on your side than we get a kickback for it. Yes, we get money into our pockets, but I truly do believe that is a good brand product whenever I have a discount code for it. Like all the stuff I'm running on here has a discount code for it that I use daily on my bicycle or work on daily on my bicycle. Whenever I buy something online, the first thing I do is I look for a discount code, even from if I want to buy a car part, I'll go online and look for a car part with a discount code. At the end of the day, it's your money. It's your decision. No one has any kind of harm to you to go ahead and make the decision, go ahead and buy anything. Use it if you want. Use the code if you want. If you don't want to support me, don't support me. Just buy the product at full retail. At the end of the day, we're doing it for a benefit, obviously, to you as a customer, but you're the final decision maker on that, and no one is forcing you to buy any kind of product. So, by all means, have a good night, and let's get into the video. All right, so here is my beautiful TAVELO Arrow right here. If you guys not have seen a video of it, I'll put a link down below where you guys can check it out. This is my rundown of the bicycle that I've been riding. I've got about 80 miles on it. In today's video, we're gonna be touching base on the handlebar, the headset, the steer plug, and also the gaps on the headset area as well. Also, Alex mentioned the threaded through axles that are inside the frame with no replacement. He mentioned the bottom bracket being ovalized and undersized. He mentioned his seat post was very stiff and wouldn't come out. He mentioned there was gnarls or unfinished on the seat wedge here. I also found it that he had 2 frames, but he only showed 1 seat wedge. I wish that he would have showed both for reference. Obviously, one could be damaged. And he also showed that the bike came with a bottom bracket included with it, but it had damage to the bottom bracket, and maybe that was the same damage to the bottom bracket that had the same damage to the seat collar, that maybe got damaged in packaging. I don't know, but things can happen there. He also talked about the DI2 port that runs underneath here, and it was more of like, he kind of made a fuss about it, but it's at the end of the day, it's really not that big of a deal, which I'll show you because the Tarmac S-Late really runs it, and the DI2 cable is nowhere to be even worried about. But he made a gripe about the chain kind of maybe touching that. And yeah, so let's take a look at it. All right, so the first thing we're going to showcase is he talked about the handlebars being flexy on there. Now, during the video, he also mentioned that he couldn't get the headset pressed the best way, that he was probably going to change out his top cap. And basically, that's a big no-no right off the bat because of the fact that if you don't have your headset tightened down whenever you're pressing on any kind of bars, you're always going to have extra flex in there. He also mentioned that there is a little black cap that goes in front of this D-shaped steer, which we'll show you in just a second as well. If that's not inserted all the way in there either, and there's any kind of space inside this circular hole for the steer, you're also going to have give on there. Now, bars in the industry, no matter what, always have some kind of give to them. BMC, Specialized, whatever the case might be. And focusing on a flexi bar by itself is not really going to sit there for the entire frame, say that you're lacking stiffness. They might put a little bit more compliant or flexi bar on the front end because they might make the head tube or the fork stiffer, so this bar is to compensate for that compliancy. Because if the bike is completely rigid and completely stiff, then the average consumer like me at home is not going to enjoy the bicycle. I know everyone wants to make a bike for races and for racers, but a lot of people won't find comfort in a very stiff front end. So let me show you guys the stiffness on here. This is in the hoods. I'm running a 120 by 36 configuration with a brand new SRAM red. We're gonna hold on the brakes. I'm 200 pounds, 6 feet. This is me on the hoods of it. And you can see there's movement there. There's always gonna be some kind of movement. I have about 80 PSI pumped into my front tire. Now on the drops, we'll get some movement here as well, watch. See that movement back and forth? Again, there is some flex there. Now let me show you a bicycle for reference, and you guys be the judge on it. A little bit of flex, all right? Let me grab a different bike. This, my friends, is a Tarmac S-Works SLA in a size 56 with the Revolve-Rapide cockpit on here. I believe a 100 by 42 configuration. It's a little bit wider, so we should even have more leverage on here to get more flex. But let me show you guys the uppers again. Movement back and forth, and then the drops. Again, I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but you have their play back and forth on there. And again, stiffness, I know everyone wants it, but sometimes it's not the best for hand comfort. Also, I know the trend today now is running like literally 60 PSI. If you're worried about squishy handlebars, you'll probably get more squish when you go up to sprint on your 60 or 70 PSI tire before you even feel in the handlebars on there, okay? Now, there are sometimes flexy handlebars like a Dorimo, like the crazy boutique stuff. There are handlebars known to be way more flexier, which I'm going to show you guys an example of right now. But again, it's all about engineering and design towards the bike and how they make it with this, all right? So that's the S-Works S8. Let's grab another bike. Now, this handlebar is from the BMC Team Machine R01. Everything's torqued down to spec and built by me. This is their integrated cockpit system, a 36 upper, 42 bottom. BMC has their own proprietary steer where it's literally flat on this side and round on the front and round on the back. So there is space for the cables come up. So again, you're not getting a full contact, but they have fillers there. But BMC is known to have some compliance to their bars because this front fork is so stiff in the front that they want this for the rider. So here's the front. This is pumped up to 80 PSI. So again, you can see the movement. Now watch the 42s, right? This is known. You can see how much I can get on there. Oh yeah, baby. And there's also videos on YouTube of like a Trek Madone with their integrated cockpit system as well. Again, companies have bars that are designed to be comfortable yet stiff as well. So keep that in mind. So on to the next subject. Okay, so now we talked about the handlebar, let's go into the whole headset cap, steer plug, and also the spacers on here as well. Now, there's a lot of things you can go into. He talked about where he basically said that there's a lot of bad engineering behind it. And obviously, you can say that. It's more of, again, a gripe. Does it work? Yes, it works. Is a steer plug hard to get in and out of? Yes, it is. But it's meant that way because of the fact that once you get the steer plug in there, you don't want to come out of. There's plenty of bikes I've worked on in the past that have a steer plug that takes a little bit more effort to get in and out, and it doesn't just slide in and out. And that's just the case to it. You're running a proprietary D-shaped steer fork on here, and there's issues. Now, are bicycles pain in the asses? Sure. Back in the day with the S-Works Venge Vice, there was a ton of issues on that bicycle, and I hated working on that bicycle. Does it mean that the engineering was crap? Sure. Hindsight, you want to sit there and say, they should have done this better, they should have done this better. Of course, anyone could say that after math. But the bicycle and the product does work. It's compressed fully enough to a point where there's no rocking back and forth on the headset. There is no rubbing on the headset. I have not had any issues with movement, and I rode over 80 miles on this thing. So there's literally, I've hit massive potholes on here, but there's no rock, there's no binding, there's nothing on there, and we're using the stock TAVELO cap. He did make a good point. The actual TAVELO cap on here is a bolt attached to this top cap, which I don't like. I wish they ran their own different top cap and bolt on there. Let's go and remove this. Tighten down the 4 Newton meters. And this is what the steer cap looks like on here. So we have the steer plug inside of here, all the way dug in there, and then we have our black piece that goes in front of it. So this is what the D-shaped steer looks like. You have this opening space right here where the cables will go in front of. So the cables come from the stem right here, down in front of the steer, and then down into the frame right here, and then run to your front brake and to your rear brake as well. And then this little black piece is supposed to fill the void because without this, there'll be this opening of the space to allow flex in there. So you want to make sure this circular handlebar has a circular steer to clamp onto. The steer plug is, I believe, proprietary, but again, if you guys been working on bicycles or following bicycles at all, Colnago C64 had a steer plug similar to this with a D-shaped steer on there that looked very, very similar and almost worked the same way, but it was just a pain in the ass. A lot of bikes will come out with proprietary parts that we don't like, but they still work. It just takes more time. And someone made a comment saying, if I can't build this bike up at home, it's crap. I'm sorry, but in 2024, with integrated cables and handlebars, any bicycle build is going to be a pain in the ass. It's a pain in the ass for the mechanics that literally get paid to do it and have all the right tools to do it. So if you're doing it at your house, on your time, with distractions around you, it's going to be even more of a pain in the ass. For example, my wife buys furniture from IKEA, city furniture, whatever the case might be, massive TV things, massive coffee tables, whatever the case might be, and then I'm stuck building that furniture for 4 hours. Do I have complete confidence in myself? Yes. The entire time, am I cussing there the entire time? Am I saying that there should be better ways to do this? Of course. But at the end of the day, I finished the directions. It takes longer than what it should be. And then the coffee table or whatever the case might be will work there for years to come. Am I happy with how it came out? No, I should say, hey, this should be done this way. This should be done this way. This is ridiculous. Look at this fucking bullshit. This sucks. But then again, I finished the coffee table and it works. Okay? So, D-shapes here. Let's go ahead and screw this back on there. But yes, I do agree with him that this should be a separate bolt and nut. A separate bolt and cap. It'll be better. So you're going to get a T25 here, the 4 Newton meter. Hold on. There we go. 4 Newton meters. It's already been tightened down and preloaded everything like that. But again, like I said, I haven't had any issues with this thing at all. All right, so this is just a quick one on here, but in his video, he mentioned with the geometry of the bicycle that his fork came pretty much to the height of where it needed to be. He couldn't cut it extra. He couldn't add extra spacers. But in my unboxing video, I basically showcased it and showed off that it only came included with these 3 spacers on there, which is a very little amount of spacers anyways for this bicycle. But I do believe that is meant to be like an aero race bike, obviously. So it's not meant to be an endurance bike. It's not meant to have 40 to 60 mil stack. Now, in his defense, I do believe it should come with at least 40 mils of spacer and give the rider the choice to go ahead and cut it lower. But I think the owner of the company had an idea to go ahead and say, hey, the people who are buying this bicycle, I want them to be a fast rider, a racer, or whatever the case might be. This is going to be the geometry setup on there. And to his defense, every single geometry and stack is online on the computer. So in that matter, it'll be on the consumer to go ahead and check out their geometry charts and see if this bicycle works for them or before get a fit hand on that. You can't just order the bicycle thinking that an XL is going to work, that you ride an XL is going to make this XL the same thing. Every bicycle is different in that matter, so it kind of has to fall on the consumer for some kind of point to look at general specifics for fit with stack and reach on there to make sure that there's enough spacers to go ahead and accommodate you as well. For me, it's a big drop. Again, I'm 6 foot. Saddle height to drop, it's a big drop, but I don't have an issue riding it, and I actually felt really comfortable while riding it. But again, keep in mind whenever you're buying a bicycle, if it doesn't work for you, don't buy the bicycle. That's just the easiest can be. You can't complain about it. If it's not going to work for you, it's not going to work for you. Now, on to the spacer situation. Because he did mention something about the spacers on here, about the preload, and about there not being an O-ring for the gaps for the frames. A lot of bikes, I don't know why either, he made a really good point. A lot of these 2024 bicycles, these aero bicycles that have integrated cables and these massive spacers on there, literally have massive gaps from the frame to the top cap spacer. Back and forth like that. Back and forth like that. So I think it's just to get clearance on there. He said there's no more rubber O-rings to keep out grease or grit or dirt or whatever the case might be from that top bearing. But a lot of these bicycles nowadays have these massive gaps. I think to make sure they have enough clearance in here for the frames. Like you can see there's not a live clearance. You can even see right through the door there. The S-late's the exact same. I think it's just to go ahead and prevent the rubbing because the top cap spacers are so proprietary. They want to give themselves, when that top cap is under preload, to make sure there's no issues there. What does this mean for the consumer? You'll probably have to change out your headset bearings more than what you like. Like, look at that gap. That's a big gap on there, and there's no O-ring right there. It's basically bearing and then C-clip to go on top of the bearing, and then you have the preload of that top cap space in there. All that means is that the consumer will have to change out the headset bearings more frequently. The bearings will be more exposed to weather and also sweat. It does suck because that job is more expensive to swap out headset bearings with integrated cables. But again, that is something that all bicycle companies are doing now. I don't think there's a way to get rid of it. And if you do make a rubber O-ring, that'd be great, but who knows? Now, in his video, he mentioned the through axle threads being inside the frame and basically not being separate like a Yoleo or even the Scott bicycles. They have the part where the derailleur goes onto. A thread for the through axle is able to be removed, and you can replace it just in case the frame gets damaged or you strip out your through axle in there. But the forks have always been like that, where basically the threads are integrated into the fork. I mean, you can always get a replacement fork, but also the entire industry is almost to this point. You're now seeing companies have hideaway through axle holes like BMC, like Pinarello, like Windspace Agiles, like everything in there. They have just threads in there with no dropout or no removal or no replacement piece in there. Again, this makes the frame lighter, I believe. You don't have this big piece of alloy hanger that's now going to be a complete back here. And to be honest with you, you shouldn't have an issue where you strip that. If you go in crooked, you're going to feel it right away. And there has to have some kind of reliability, again, on the consumer. I know that we want to sit there and say, hey, I stripped my frame out because the through axles aren't removable or the threads aren't removable. Again, the consumer has to take some kind of ownership, or the customer or the person has to take some kind of ownership, be like, hey, I stripped out my frame threads on here. It's my fault. What can we do to replace this? Instead of saying, hey, this should have been removable. You know? Like, again, that's a foil I just showed you. We go to SL8. The through axle's right here again. Nothing crazy on there. It looks a very similar design to that. Yes, BMC has a little hidden. Pinarello literally has a hidden. So, again, not a big deal. And then lastly, another thing that he kind of just passed over with, but he seemed to make a big one about this. He's like, I noticed right away when Jesse's mechanic built the bicycle up and the DI2 wire was hanging out from the bottom. He's like, that can be a big issue. This is, again, exactly how the SL8s ran, and we haven't had one of those issues, and we've sold probably a couple hundred SL8s since the release of them, between S-Works and all their models. The DI2 wire literally comes out through the bottom of the frame right here. It's held inside the hanger right here, or you can go around the hanger. It's clipped onto a derailleur if you have one, and it works right there. Unless there's crazy amount of excess derailleur hanger cable hanging out of there, or this gets snagged on something, but it can get snagged on top, it's not really a worrisome. So I don't know why he brought it up. Again, it could be a concern, but at the end of the day, it's nothing that really compromises anything. It's just a frame design that they place it differently. So you have it come out here, something can happen. It's just like a what if. But again, there's been no issues on these at all. And it's actually a pretty good placement because it doesn't put a lot of stress on the wire to go up, down, like that. So, again, that's just my take on it. Now we get into the fun stuff. We have the seat post and the seat post clamp right here as well, and then next is the bottom bracket. Now, in his video, this was concerning because it did happen to his bicycle. We can clearly see that his seat post was getting stuck. It was very hard to remove in and out. And also, his seat post clamp looked disgusting on picture, and that was his experience with the frame. Now, mine, I don't remember seeing that on there. Jesse Coyle said he didn't have any issues with that. Maybe because of the fact that mine's a raw black carbon and his was more paint, and that white paint maybe grabbed the seat post. I don't know, but it's unexcusable for that to happen. But again, I wanted to show you guys the reason why I don't bring it up, and people might come to my channel and say, hey, you didn't showcase this to us. Are you hiding something? No, because I just didn't have that issue. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to mark my seat post because I like my seat height and I don't want to have to deal with it. I'm going to draw the line right here. Take it off. We got a 5 millimeter, which I thought was weird as well. I think it should be a 4, but whatever. Let's go ahead and loosen this bad boy up. And then we're going to see in real time how this happens. Now, I did put carbon grease inside of here for the frame because sometimes I think it also helps with just going in, but also once it's secured in there, it stops from sliding. But let's go ahead and remove it. So you can see, came straight out. Seat post looks clean. No real markings on there. Let's wipe it off real quick. And again, I don't know if you guys ever watched my videos back in the day, but I used to always run the seat post really high when I would showcase a new bike. Until I know my saddle height, I'll run it higher and then I'll set it down lower because I don't like to see scratches on frames. But again, there's no marks on here. If there was any kind of marks on there, maybe small ones, sure. But again, he said that issue on there. We'll take out the seat post wedge, which I'll show in just a second, but I want to kind of show us like this. Go in, go out. This is with minimal effort on here. I don't want to damage it back and forth because it can anyways, but yes, you guys get the point. This goes in here like so, and no issues. Now for the seat post wedge, straight out again. And again, I don't have any kind of burrs or edging or anything like that. I wish he would have shown, I don't know if he did show in his video, the other seat post or the other seat post clamp on there. Maybe it was just one that got damaged. But it's unexcusable for his to be like that. I don't know if it just got damaged in there or there's paint on there. It's unexcusable, but just showing you guys my side, that my bike didn't have an issue. And I talked to Jesse and he said that his same thing, he didn't have that with his issue either. So we'll just put that down as on my side there. Now, let's go ahead and get into the fun stuff of the bottom bracket. And you guys might have asked, oh, actually, you guys did ask me multiple times, is the bottom bracket ovalized? Is it egg-shaped? Is it broken? Why didn't you tell us it? For my build, I had set aside a Shimano Press Fit BB86 bottom bracket, a plastic one. I don't have a Nova to ride BB86 because I really don't have a lot of press fit bikes that I ride. All my bikes are threaded. So I didn't get to put one in there. So when I put the bottom rack in and it didn't have any kind of resistance, I don't just go around miking every single bottom bracket hole. When it didn't have any resistance and it just went right in, I didn't think anything of it. I just thought it went in, spun the crank, it's good to go. I do have a Nova to ride BB coming out soon, so when that does come in here, if it is undersized, then I'm going to have to go ahead and put that in there, but we're going to remove the crank right now, remove the BB, we're going to take a look at everything. We're going to do a time lapse to remove this crank, and you guys might be asking yourself again, Grant, why didn't you use a provided bottom rack with this frame? I'll be honest with you guys, it looked kind of cheap. I didn't measure, I didn't try to push into the hole at all. I just had a stock Shimano BB laying around that I took off a bike recently, and I know the reliability of them. So the bottom brackets you get maybe with the L's frame and this frame, it's not the best. I don't know why they include them. But again, I stick to what I know, especially on bottom brackets. You don't want to have to take off your crank multiple times for that. So I just stick to what I know. So let's go ahead and take off this crank. I've had this crank on my Polygon, on my Blackheart Titanium, on the L's, on the Tarmac for a couple rides. So it's been on a couple bikes. All right, so you guys can see right here, the bottom bracket was removed, or the crank is removed. Here's the crank axle on here. Maybe a little bit of bearing wear, but like I said, I've had it on a couple bikes, man. So we can't chalk it up to, I've only have 80 miles on here. I can't chalk it up to this bike alone. But we'll see how this thing goes in and out by itself. I mean, minimal force to get in and out. Take it out. So, looks pretty good. We're going to go ahead and remove the BB out of there right now. But like I said, right there, when you install the bottom rack and you see the crank like that, it wouldn't raise any red flags to me. Now, maybe as my job as a YouTuber, I failed to go ahead and measure out the BB right then and there. But as a bike builder, as a mechanic, as someone who just builds bikes on the regular, put the bottom rack in, put the crank in. We don't see any issues there. Keep it chugging. Here's what it looks like before. That's the Shimano logo. What the heck? Bro, that's the worst camera quality I've ever seen in my life. By the way, that's the Shimano logo right there. Go over on this side. That's the Shimano logo right there as well. I'm going to pull this out. QC passed. I know. Alex didn't agree with that in his frame, which he did have a couple issues on there. But let's go ahead and remove this thing. So we're going to be using a Ceramic Speed bottom bracket extractor toolkit that I have here. $300, definitely overpriced for it. But again, we're a bike shop, so we like to play with cool things. Bottom bracket's there. Let's get a cup on this frame right here. Perfect. Grab our tool, little spinny thing. Move out the weight chain. Cool. Take this. And one side's done. Would you look at that? The BB's there. And to the other side. Okay, we got this here. Got this here. Tie it down. This one's gonna be a little harder because there's got an angle of a lip on here, but let's go ahead and get it. Now again, I'm not getting paid to do this. See, Alex, that's one thing that I didn't like as much in the video, where you say that people call me, people say that I'm the what's it called? I'm an idiot. People call me the use my code bro. But see, at the end of the day, as a YouTuber, we are getting paid to do this. You're uploading your video on YouTube to be monetized, to make money off it. Now, you always say that the videos don't pay you shit. Sure. But then you go out of your way to make a Patreon to have people pay and subscribe for your content that you're literally going to upload for free 2 weeks later, or whatever the case might be. So at the end of the day, we're all out here as YouTubers, and people can say, oh, he's getting paid for whatever it is. I'm not getting paid by this company, TAVELO, at all. I'm here on a Thursday night. My wife's 9 months pregnant. She's going to be induced on Monday. My 2 kids are sleeping at home. I have to take them to school at 6 o'clock in the morning. It is right now 11 o'clock at night, and I'm doing this to showcase just my experience with the bicycle for my YouTube channel, which I will upload and get monetized as well. But again, we're doing this for the love of cycling and also to run a YouTube channel. We're not just doing it for free, because if you weren't doing it for free, you could post on Instagram if you wanted to and not care about money. So, bottom bracket's out. Let's go ahead and clean it up, and we'll measure out that BB. All right, so we got a 500 lumen light on this bottom bracket, so we can go ahead and take a look at it, and then we'll put some calipers on there to see it. It looks decent. Again, like I said, I'm not like crazy. There's some marks there, I'm sure, from going in press fit style on the BB. Let's check on this side over here. And again, no, it looks smooth. Like I said, even he said it looks faced really nice on the edges. The BB shell inside looks really nice and smooth. I don't really see any kind of issues on there. Let's go ahead and get some calipers on there and measure it out. All right, folks. Well, seems here that the battery died on this thing, so I had to run all the way down to CVS to go get a battery at 11 o'clock at night, because I know that if I just measure with the mechanical, we wouldn't get the right reading. I don't have the tools like the engineers do, but I can at least get a digital mic to go ahead and put it on there. Let's go ahead and figure it out. All right, so we got our caliper here. Let's zero it out. Zero it out. Let's measure this thing across the bottom bracket here. We're coming in right at 40.86, which I think was right where he had it at. So maybe, again, this looks to be an undersized bottom bracket. Let's go ahead and let's go across here. Second. $40.90, underside again, and this one's 40.94. I just let off as 40.90, but around there. So yes, in terms of an engineer standpoint to the exact number, I will say this is slightly under diameter. But again, from a bike shop standard, and like I said, to quality control tolerances, he is dead on. It is not to spec. I guess apparently the bottom bracket shell for the inner of a BB86 should be, he said, anywhere from like a 4.94 to a 4.96. But to my defense on here, when I'm pushing in a press fit BB, like a Shimano, which I plan to use, and it goes in there, zero issues, then it raises no red flags to me. I should have measured it, sure. Now, what does this mean to the consumer if you run a plastic BB like this? What this means is that you'll probably have to change out your bottom bracket sooner than if it was a perfect hole in there. You might get a little bit uneven wear on the bearings or whatever the case might be. The bike will still function to this point, but it is not up to exact spec on there. So they're saying that you can't run a hambini bottom bracket. Now, I have a hambini bottom bracket here in the store. 1 second. Now, in my hands here is a hambini bottom bracket, press fit BB86 for a 24mm Shimano spindle. We usually stock these for Scott bicycles because they're BB86. And let's go ahead and see how this stacks up inside of here when we run it through. Oh yeah, so I can catch a lip on there. I think it could go in with some retain compound or some kind of fluid inside there to get on there. But definitely you can see it's a struggle. It's not perfect. It will be a little bit of work to go in and out of there. And obviously, like you said, you don't want to force a solid BB in there because this won't break. The carbon fiber frame will break on there. Now, this is completely true. What Peak Torque says, this is undersized by their standards for a solid sleeve bottom bracket on here. In that matter, you can literally run the Shimano plastic BB86 in there. There's a reason why Shimano made that plastic BB86 for the reason of they know that they don't have to worry about quality control for every single bicycle manufacturer frames out there. If you have one company putting out 100 BB86 frames, their bottom bracket shelves will not all be the exact same tolerances. There's a reason why they have these. Now, if this was a Nova to Ride BB, which when I get in here, I can make a short Instagram video. It is a press fit sleeve BB all the way through. I'm going to put it inside the frame, and I don't think I'll have any issues because I can actually use grease on these cups, and it threads into each other, and I think it should slide in no problem. But yeah, you see how much easier that Shimano one just goes in like no problem? You can literally almost push it with your hand. So I'm gonna go ahead and press in the Shimano bottom bracket. We'll put the crank back in there and then follow up with our conclusion video. So this is me just pressing the BB back into it, going back into place. And we're going, and I promise you, once I get my bottom bracket in here, my straight one-piece BB, I'm going to put into this frame, no questions asked. And I don't think it'll be a problem either, being the size that it is as is, and I'll make no modifications to the frame. But right now, as of right now, I don't know what crank I'm putting on there because I might swap out this crank for something new I have coming in, so I don't want to ruin it. I have the side brake crank already on my bike, but I have a new company that I'm talking to about a crank that I'm very excited for, so we'll have to see what happens there. But bottom bracket's in, let's grab the crank. Again, let's put a little bit of grease on here. Put a BB shell. Go there. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Looks lovely. Grab the other side of the Pagine. Again, we're going to grease up the tips of this. Let's get the through nut. So crank is installed. We have it on there. Nothing crazy like a hambini. Definitely some drag on there, but that's because I just cinched it down because this machine crank doesn't have a... This machine crank only has a 5mm pinch bolt and a 10mm tension screw on there, and there's no lock on there. So I tightened that more than usual on here, but trust me, once I get my actual Nova Ride BB on there, we'll be good. And then let's put our chain on. Like so. Beautiful. And just a quick lap around the store to make sure everything's good. We want to make sure everything's dialed in like we're supposed to have it. We got it like this. Final thing. I got it all. Yeah. Alrighty then. Ah! And guys, before we go any further, keep in mind the type of content Peak Torque does. I think it's a great way he does for the cycling industry because it keeps a lot of the big name brands at check. He checks all their work and knows that if there is a guy like that on our side to go ahead and check to make sure they're up to date on their quality control, that is better for the consumers. But also, if you're always looking for a problem for something and always saying that you can do better because you're an engineer, you could fix this, obviously in hindsight, once you see something, you can say, hey, there's a better solution for that. But if you're always looking for a problem for something, you most likely will find a problem no matter what it is. If I look at my skin for too long, I might find a mole that I should get checked out. If I take apart my car that's running perfectly right now, I could definitely see that maybe, hey, I need to replace the spark plug, or hey, this screw needs to be replaced. Looks like it's getting corroded or rusted. So small things like that. And also, for YouTube's sake as well, those type of, not negative videos, but those type of videos where you have issues with something definitely get more clicks. Like if the Tesla Cybertruck came out and every single video came out there, you want to buy a Tesla Cybertruck, and 8 videos were like, I love this truck, it's the best truck ever. And then you saw a video that said, top 10 reasons why not to buy a Cybertruck. You'll probably click that one just to make sure that it doesn't check all the boxes or whatever the case might be. So there is a kind of algorithm to it, and there's always kind of like this lore to looking deeper into the cause of it. Like I said, I watch his content. I think he's a stand-up guy. He's great. But again, if you're always looking for the negative in something, even if it's great, but if you always have to chime in and say something about it, then you're going to find issues with it. Whereas me, I might overlook something and be numb to it because of the fact that I see so many issues. I see bicycles that maybe I should do videos on, but they're customers' bicycles, and I don't take the time to do a video on it. My job is just to fix it. So I see so much issues with bicycles that are $13,000, $10,000, $12,000 that customers aren't taking care of the stuff and stuff breaks quicker than it should. But my job is just to either call up the company, they warranty it out, or whatever the case might be. So I'm maybe numb to a lot of the quality control stuff, whereas he's a little bit more on par with it. But yeah, I just want to say that. So again, I'm not trying to attack it. I'm just saying that that's just the style of his content. If you go back and look at his videos, that's how it is. Whereas people literally call me a shill. Maybe I might be a shill because I never say anything negative, but I like the bicycle industry. I work in the bicycle industry. I like seeing new things. So I like new products, but it is what it is. All right, guys, so that was it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. So why did I do this? Well, I really wanted to showcase all of my experiences on there because after that video came out from Peak Torque, a lot of people just came into my video and said, hey, you didn't mention any of these kind of issues with your bicycle. Are you just basically hiding it? Are you shilling for this company? Are you getting paid by this company? And I just want to clear that up for my integrity, for my channel, and everything like that. I know Peak Torque did not call me out directly, but in his video, he basically said other YouTubers have got this product and they have it. They're doing a ride review, kind of in quotations, kind of insinuating like they're not doing it the best, or maybe that's just how I took it. So I just want to put out my experience with it and go about everything there. What did we learn from this? Yes, the bottom bracket is undersized. What did it do to me? It didn't stop me from riding the bicycle as is with a normal Shimano BB86. And like I said, I do have a Nova 86 bottom bracket coming in very soon that I'm going to put in there for my bicycle. Should this be allowed? It should be. We want to believe that for quality control, it should be up to par. Now, everything that happened to Alex's bike with the seat post, with the seat wedge, you know, with those type of issues with the steer plug and stuff like that, obviously the more you put in, the more you take it out, you're going to have issues arise there. But all the more insinuations and all the more like saying like, hey, this is bothersome, hey, could be bad, hey, the handlebars are flexy, I don't know if I can get enough preload in there. There's a lot more assumptions than actually just being built on there. So, and even him in the beginning of the video, he even said, once he's done with the bicycle, he's probably going to enjoy it. And that's the case I want to make there, is that I've done 80 miles. I did a 60-mile ride on Saturday, 20-mile ride on Wednesday. It's not a lot, but I've been riding bikes for since I was 13. Absolutely enjoyed it, had a blast on it. It could be because of the fact that it was SRAM Ride group set. It could be the fact of the wheels. But by no means did I feel like the bicycle held me back by any means. Did no means I feel unsafe on the bicycle at all. The headset was completely cinched down. There was no issues with it rubbing. There was no issues with it having enough preload on there. There was no issues that I noticed with a flexi bar. I'm 200 pounds and I sprinted 1100 watts. It's nothing crazy. I'm just giving you guys numbers. I had no issues with the seat post or the seat clamp. Again, to clear my name, I am not affiliated with TAVELO. TAVELO did not pay me to make this second video. They gave me this frame for free. And again, like I said, if anything happens to the company after this, I have nothing to do with it. Literally, it could never bother me. I have a bicycle store myself, which I sell. Like I said, I got to ask by the company, the owner of it, say, hey, do you want to work with us? I said the bicycle looks sick. And to be honest with you right now, with my Tarmac SL8 and this bicycle right here, I used to, with other bicycles I had in my quiver or my selection of bicycles, I used to always be like, oh, if I'm doing a fast ride or if I'm going out for a fast group ride, I want to take the Tarmac, because that's just the bike I always felt like it was like, it gave me the best chance, or whatever the case might be. This bicycle, I'll say this right now, I would have no issues if I had only this bicycle to ride compared to my Tarmac SL8, which means is that I felt very capable on this bike to be in whatever kind of group ride, to whatever fast group, to ride with a buddy, to push myself, to get PRs, whatever the case might be. Nothing felt like it was holding me back on a bike. So that's what I'm saying, is that I thoroughly enjoyed it. Now the downsides of an undersized bottom bracket, like we mentioned, you could have an issue with maybe replacing the bottom bracket sooner than later. It could be years, it could be months. It depends on how bad it's out of shape or whatever the case might be. But I always do recommend getting a metal bottom bracket in there, or maybe a solid one piece on there. But that's what bike shops usually do. We shoved the BB in there. There was no issues on it. And yes, so keep that in mind. Like I said, I will have a solid BB on there, and I will put it on my Instagram story coming up whenever it gets in there, probably after the baby birth. The next frame I hope to do this with, I've learned my lesson on this. So I can tell you guys really want to do a whole build on it. Hopefully, I should have a Sika spear in my hands, and I will do a full build on it. Literally from start to finish, however long the video will be. From cutting the forks, installing everything one by one, and showing you every single struggle that comes with building a bicycle. Now keep in mind, I would like to call myself a professional mechanic. I've worked mechanics for bicycles for over 13 years now. And it comes a little bit more naturally to me, and I've seen more scenarios than maybe the average viewer at home would. So it's a little bit easier to me to figure out how a steer plug goes in here, or how a stem goes onto a not so round steer, or how to fish a cable through somewhere, or how to insert something to somewhere. So we will go on that endeavor together. But anyways, guys, hopefully you guys enjoy the video. Hopefully Peak Torque sees the video and has something to say about it. Again, I'm not attacking him personally. All of his experiences were valid, and he had every single right to make the video. I just want to give a different side of the story to let you guys know that there are some good QC to it, and you guys have that option to make now. So as you as a consumer, the dollars in your value, I don't even know what the hell I say sometimes. I hate speaking publicly in front of the camera. But anyways, guys, have a good night. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.